You're listening to the New Old Heads podcast, shot live every Tuesday at twitch.tv/newoldheads and released every Thursday at noon via bringingdowntheband.com. The show is brought to you by Coleman Dental, Printfinity, Indie CD and Vinyl. Support the show directly by becoming a member at patreon.com/newoldheads.
You are now tuned in to the New Old Heads podcast. I am Major 7th. The crew is in the building. My man Jay Moore is in the building being very patriotic today. How are you, sir?
Okay, I guess. I see where you're going there.
Yeah, you see? Yeah.
That wasn't my intention. I was just, just trying to get fly.
America.
Yeah, I'm doing well, man. Just another day, another dollar, unfortunately it costs $1.50 to go outside.
$100 might be $2.
So it don't matter if it needs to be another day, another $2 if you're trying to get by at all.
Nah, for real.
Yeah, man.
Other than that, everything good?
Yeah, everything's good, man.
Okay, all right.
Oh, watch out if you're going to buy something off of Amazon, like a tablet.
Yeah.
Make sure you get it from somewhere reputable. Like get the Samsung or Toshiba. Don't just buy you're like, oh, that's a good deal, and it's from some Chinese warehouse.
Yeah.
Because your information, they will attempt, to some of them will attempt to steal your information. So I had to go through all that, and I traced it back to that particular purchase.
Sound like a robbery.
Yeah. So the fact that I had put my Google information, which is how you get any of these tablets to work. Yeah, they did some fishing around and, got me for like $17 out of my PayPal account. But I had, I'm going to get that back. But I had to go through all that.
All the steps.
We traced it right back to that. So
Gotcha.
So watch yourself out here in these online marketplaces.
My man Lonegevity, how are you, buddy?
I'm okay, man.
Yeah.
The rent is too damn high.
Oh, you
right about that,
man.
We laughed at that man when he said that, but he was right on point, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was ahead of his time.
Exactly.
Crazy out here, man. Taxing. Everywhere you turn, they taxing.
Yeah, I looked at what it was. There's like one bedroom, one bath, and it was like barely that. And I was like, $1,100. Wasn't even close to nothing.
These people tripping, man. My man DJ Jay Diff, what's happening, man?
Salutations.
Everything good your way?
Everything's kosher and
Tell me something good,
stuff,
man. Tell me something good.
Something good. Let's see here.
Yeah, give me something good.
I don't know. You might have to ask Shaka about that, man.
Okay. You just gonna leave it at that?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm here. That's pretty good.
Yeah,
I'll take that. Being here, that's 100%. I'll take that.
Yeah, man. Everything's all right,
Okay. Copacetic, as they say.
Copacetic.
Like the old folks say, you woke up this morning, didn't you?
Exactly.
Man.
So that's a blessing in
you
itself.
Already ahead of the game.
Older I get, the more I realize they was right.
Man, who you
Old
telling?
people be right, 90% of the time.
Like, when now
No, they don't.
as an adult, like you'll watch, at one point you'd be like, oh, they're just tripping on the young people.
Yeah.
And like that's like somebody pointed out Miss Doubtfire, they're like, oh, she's just not, she don't want the kids to have fun and it's like really, like Robin Williams' character really did bring like a horse in the house, you know what I'm saying? Like,
nah, I honestly, even as a kid, I thought that he was a little too extra.
Yeah.
It's like, man, I understand what he's trying to do, but you're the grown up here.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
you definitely the grown up.
you got mom in here just trying to make sure that the house is ran accordingly. And you on some bullshit.
Yeah, I mean, really. But like you see the movies would be like, oh, he just wants to dance. Or it's like, she just wants to do this. And it's like, no, we want you to do something practical.
Get your dancing ass on.
To where you'll be able to support yourself in the future.
Let's go to my man Buckshot, OG, legend. Has some interesting thoughts about music just in general, but more importantly, he mentioned one thing what jumped out to me was he had an interesting take on streaming and I guess how long streaming is going to be around, and he basically was talking about it as if it's like the biggest heist ever. So there's a video reaction that I put in Discord. Let's pull that up, watch the video and react, because I like Buckshot. Buckshot is one of them OGs I try to listen to whenever he pops out. I was a big Boot Camp Click fan, so let's see what the OG's talking about. I think this up towards the top, Lone. I put Buckshot in the message. I don't know what that was in relation to Bob Ross.
I think that's just the face.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's go.
You all right?
By the hairs on his chinny chin
it's
chin.
over for radio? Like radio will be obsolete in the near future?
Obsolete now, but
I feel like the station.
the only ones that's keeping radio alive is they better thank God for automobiles. Yeah. If it wasn't for cars, radio would be done. Look, streaming is about to be gone. You think I told you about radio dying? Streaming got a bullet in his head.
I don't believe that at all.
We went from having no control of what we had on radio, we just had to listen, to having a little bit of control, which is streaming. We pay a little money every month. We can control what we listen to because we have options of thousands, but we can control what we listen to because we'll pick number 5. Streaming is gonna die because streaming is an illusion. It's a ripoff. You think it's the biggest heist that's ever been pulled off ever in life, and streaming is based on giving you access to my library. So every month I pack up my library with music. You pay me $29 a month and I give you access. Don't pay me at any point in time, you won't have access. So that actually, you're walking around with a bluff card in your hand. You think you control things, you think you own things. But just like when Instagram went down and Facebook went down, people lost their minds. People couldn't know, they didn't remember who they was with. They didn't know, the world went crazy. People couldn't get in contact with this one. They lost their pictures, all the other stuff. So the streaming is a kind of form of no control. There's something now called the chain. Everyone knows, I heard of blockchain. I heard of the blockchain. I've heard of the block. You better understand the blockchain and know it ain't going nowhere. The blockchain is just another avenue. But we went from no control, little bit control, to all control. See, the blockchain gives you all control.
So he's thinking that the blockchain and crypto and that aspect is going to be the future, and streaming is going to go away because of the control of that. That's what he's alluding to here.
Shout out to everybody who bought an NFT.
Yeah, NFTs is essentially what he's alluding to here. I don't know. What do you guys think about that?
I don't agree.
You don't agree? Why not?
No, because I think we've had this discussion before. It's too far gone. The only way that anything could rewind this situation that's going on with streaming is if the artists all got together and got on one accord and figured out a way to do something else other than streaming. Which is the blockchain, which is what he's talking about. Is it? So explain blockchain to me. Well, he's talking essentially NFTs, right? So it's the digital currency of NFTs. Mm-hmm. So in the same sense of how nowadays what he's saying is, okay, cool. The problem with streaming, I agree with him and from the aspect of that streaming is a heist. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with that. Like,
we all are in on that, I would say.
But I think the problem with this is like we're giving ownership to these streaming platforms to exactly do kind of what he said. It's like you have access to all this music for this amount of money, and it's like these streaming platforms are holding control over all of that and who gets paid from listening to it. There's no control in the person who's actually creating the content. Realistically, you have to put it on there. The NFT idea version, the stuff that I saw floating around for a while there was, all right, cool. You put out a song, you put out 100 copies of this song, whatever. You can, or however many, 1,000, 100,000, whatever. You can buy this. You can keep it in your own personal library. If, let's say there are only 1,000, let's say you sell this copy to somebody else. Let's say I sell my version to you, Terry. What happens in that is that with this blockchain, or what's built into this system, is that once I resell it to you as well, the artist, who's Jay Moore, gets a kickback every time that's resold automatically. So the artist still gets still some type of ownership over how they put it out, when they put it out, how much they put out, the price they put it out for, everything that's a part of it. Now, am I 100% caught, or do I believe that's where we're going, like right away or anytime soon? No.
Right.
But I think that's what he's alluding to, and I think that's the direct answer to what you just said.
But still, with these streaming platforms, I can elect to buy the product that I'm listening to if I want to, and it will download to whatever device that I have.
You can't do that on Spotify, can you?
I don't use Spotify.
So Spotify is just strictly streaming. So you can just buy it on YouTube. Can you actually download the file?
YouTube Music, I believe you can purchase just like you can on Apple Music.
Can you?
Yeah.
I've never seen my sales on these other. I know you can on Apple, but I
can on Amazon as well.
I know you can on Amazon. So there are some that you can do.
Definitely can.
But what's the biggest streaming platform?
Spotify.
There you go.
Oh, Spotify is the biggest streaming.
Yes,
yeah.
I would say so.
We don't like Spotify anyway.
No, for sure. So I think to what he's saying, I agree with a lot of what he's saying. I just, to your point, Terry, as well, I don't think that we are anywhere close to this point of streaming going away. I think they just have too much control now. I think it would take the artist rising up. I think it would take a major change in structure of the way everything works. I kind
of figure whenever that day comes, though, that the streaming platforms will fall in line so that they're not going out of business, so to speak. So whenever those agreements go through and the proper cuts are made and you can do this with the service now versus what you could do back then, I think that they'll fall in line. I don't think it'll just go away because it's too convenient for people.
Yeah.
Like the average consumer does not care about buying a hard copy or even the digital copy of anything right now because they can spend one price that would pretty much back in the day is the cost of one record, one CD, and you have everything available to you. So unless there's like some, I don't know, it's almost like
the capital,
it'd have to line up like crazy.
The capitalist world would have to collapse.
Exactly for that to even happen. I don't see that happening anytime soon.
Yeah, that's kind of what it would be. I read something from that Curtis King shared recently. See if I can find this about, and it's stuff that we all already know, but it was related to how much, like how many streams would equal like an album drop or something, you know, like, or how much it would cost, like the relative. Yeah. Here we go. So a $10 CD or a USB is 2,941 streams, 2,941 streams, 365 days a year, approximately 8 years of daily streaming listening it would take to the equivalent of like a $10 CD.
That's wild.
That's crazy, bro.
And so like a major shift like legitimately needs to happen. I don't know if the blockchain is the answer to that. It's definitely a potential answer to that. Whether it can be adopted or not, I think that's up to, for debate.
What you think, Jay?
Well, I think, just like we engage in these conversations on a pretty regular basis because it seems like there's always something new that's changing, or they're changing some rule about how artists are getting paid or how they're not getting paid when you talk about streaming. Once again, I've alluded to this before, we have been conditioned to not pay for anything anymore.
Yeah.
Right.
We're conditioned to pay for our memberships, our monthly, whatever, to maintain our movie collection, our music collection, and our video game collection. Now, I know I reference video games, probably more than I should considering it's a music podcast. But when you think about what's the service, the Xbox Game Pass, after a certain point, there are certain games it'll come up and say leaving soon, and then if you want to continue playing that game, they offer to you for like maybe 40 or 50% off of the price from the digital store. If you want to keep playing it after they remove it from that, I don't know if that would work for musicians, where after a certain amount of time, if you want to keep continuing to listen to my art, I'll offer it to you for a certain price, but you're going to have to pay for it. And because honestly, you listening to, like I said, I bought the Killer Mike album, the physical piece, because there's no way I could listen to it enough times for me to equal one purchase of the full album.
That's why I copped the tape.
Yeah.
Same reason.
So I think maybe if they took the Xbox Game Pass way and said, okay, yes, you've listened to it for this much. If you really like it, here it is for this much percentage off, and you don't want to wait too long, because if you do, then you're going to have to pay for the full. If you want to continue listening to my art, you're going to have to pay for the full price, the $13.99, I will give it to you for $6 or $7, if you go ahead and just pay before it's removed from streaming. Now, once again, the streaming partners aren't going to like that, so that's probably never going to happen. But you could do what Lone did and take your music off of streaming and say, if you really want to continue to enjoy, here is a way of, a direct-to-consumer way for you to continue to enjoy my music. Once again, there's so many new rules that people have to come up with new solutions if they want to actually eat off their art. Once again, if you're just doing this and you have a big enough audience to where, okay, they just have to have access to it so they can come and pay the money to come see me, and I can sell them a T-shirt or whatever. But we've been eventually talking about the Live Nation thing, and you see what they're doing there as far as people's touring, and it's another trap,
right? Yeah,
to not pay artists. So there's going to have to be some adjustments. I don't think streaming is going anywhere. Once again, we have figured people are not going to get back into paying for art unless you force their hand.
It's because we value ease of access more than we do art.
Yes.
Absolutely.
You know,
So-
we had this
It's
conversation. We have a
Yeah.
whole conversation about this a couple weeks ago.
Like
It's
I said,
100% about the access.
I know people that used to buy entire seasons of TV shows,
Yeah.
like The West Wing or Sex and the City or whatever. They have those box sets. It was like, why would I buy that box set now
Yeah.
when I have the entire thing streaming? Now, the streaming rights might move from Amazon and then they go to Netflix and I have to keep up with that. But still, that's cheaper than me buying, 8 seasons of a TV show.
Right.
Yeah.
I haven't bought, like I said, I don't buy video games anymore because I have Game Pass.
I will say Bandcamp, I know it's not your typical streaming platform. You can stream music on there, but you don't get streaming royalties from it. But Bandcamp does have that option. You can go there and you can set it when you're releasing an album to say, all right, you can give somebody 5 listens before they have to buy it or whatnot. And, I think that's an interesting idea that I've not really thought about in the realm of streaming before. But that's a potential thing, and maybe it's like a direct donation built in. Like if Spotify, cool, you can listen to this album, cool, but if you want to listen to it more, you have to pay the artist directly via a button on Spotify or something. You know what I mean?
You'll see the prompt. It'll pop up on Bandcamp once you run it a few times. It'll, I'm paraphrasing. It's come to the point where you have to make a choice or whatever, and it literally pops up and you can't play it anymore.
Yeah.
So,
But at the same time, too, like, look, I took all my music off Spotify, but I sold a single yesterday and one before that and 2 EPs last week. All that is more than I probably would have made on Spotify the entire year. So,
Facts.
I mean,
facts.
and I don't even promote it. So it's like, it's just, when it comes down to, it's like us as artists, we want to play the game. Because we it's oversaturated. It's a hard game to be in. And we look at Spotify and we look at these streaming platforms and we say, you know what? It's making it easier for us to get our music in these people's hands. But the problem is Spotify and streaming platforms aren't the answer there. The answer is to just promote your music better and to be a better artist in front of people,
And in turn, it's going to make people have to make better projects if it ever leads to that. Because, now, like, you can record a song right now and have it up on a streaming platform tomorrow.
Yeah.
True.
And if you have to rely on somebody actually buying it for them to be able to listen to it, like a blockchain,
That's real.
so to speak,
That's real.
you're going to have to make better product.
Yeah.
We talk about artists banding together and this, that, and the third. I've talked about this before on different levels. There are so many people who would rather be famous than rich. Then it's gonna be hard to get people in a room and say, okay, this is what we're gonna do. Because if you're not on a certain playlist, if you're not being pushed, a lot of times we talked about how people are releasing music into a void.
True.
Where they don't have, there's a large amount of songs on Spotify or Tidal or whatever it is you have that you stream music that have less than 5 listens, and like I said, there's all this music, like you can go in and you'll type in, you'll be looking for something else and you're like, what is this?
Yeah.
And then, it's something obscure. Some people I feel like are getting those 4 or 5 listens on accident.
It's possible. There's lots of music out there that just, it's not even an argument for the streaming platforms, but there's an astronomical amount of music that is on streaming platforms that has never even gotten one play. And that threshold, it's like the argument conversation over the access that people have to put their music on there. I think it's something that's kind of manufactured to be. I just wish people would look at it from a sake of like, there was a time when putting your music on streaming platforms was a thing that not everybody could do very easily unless you're on a label or something like that. And now that it's like super easy to do, it's like it completely took the marketing aspect out of like promoting your own stuff. I don't know. It made it a little bit too easy, I guess, for in general. And it kind of makes it, as an artist, sometimes you put it on streaming platforms and you think, okay, my job's done. That should never be the end of your job for your music. It should be, you have a lot more work to do. And I think streaming platforms in general, if nothing else, like it kind of creates like this, what's the word I'm looking for? Like this ease, this like nonchalantness or something of like, this is all that I have to do. And
it's a
like,
passive way of thinking you're going to become.
Yeah. Yes. And I feel like if from artists, like, try to approach putting music out like you're not going to use a streaming platform, and intentionally, and right off the bat, your mind's going to be like, oh well, I have to do a whole lot of other stuff. You should already be thinking that.
Oh, you mean I have to actually work this record? I have to work this project? Yeah. Because we always talk about the access and how easy access is as it relates to streaming, but to your point, Lonez, from a creative standpoint, it's like, okay, I got it on Spotify. Now so I got it out there. So now the world has
a
it.
Facebook post and that's it.
Yeah, and that's it. But that mentality is not conducive to the artist winning. It's more of a, man, I got it out there so the world has it now. But is there really a benefit there? Because we know they're giving you pennies on the stream.
Pennies.
If that.
Fraction.
I'm being nice, right, when I say that. So the direct to consumer, like, you really got to stand in the paint when you choose to do that, but you have to really have a conversation with yourself about where is the benefit. It's cool to be able to say, yeah, you can catch it on Spotify, iTunes, catch it on all these places, but what's there? What are you really getting from that? Versus actually getting, like to Lone's point, you might have to actually work your records.
Yeah, and
he sold EPs and probably was in the bed.
Yeah,
and you know for a fact it's never going to be that on the streaming.
It's not going to be the same amount. And I think that's just so back to the whole point of what he's saying. Like, I don't think streaming is still going anywhere.
Right.
But I do think that artists in general, we need to band together. And shouts to Curtis King. We reviewed one of his videos. He's talked about this at length about how bad Spotify and these streaming companies really are for the artist economy in general. And, look, Spotify's CEO in general does not look at music as art. He looks at it as content. Period. And so, it's like when you have a company that looks at creative art in that sense, it's like you should see that as something to be like, maybe I should pump my brakes as to be a part of it. But it's, everybody wants to be cool. Everybody wants their music on Spotify. It's like, nah, man, like you got to slow down.
It's definitely the cool thing to do. Yeah, man, you can catch it on Spotify. I'm on Spotify right now.
I mean, it was the cool thing to do like 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago or something. I think everybody can do it now, but
it's not as special. It's nowhere near as special.
It's not special
I agree
anymore,
with that.
But,
I agree with that.
But still, streaming is not going anywhere unless I think there's a major financial collapse and these corporations are forced to not be monopolies. And
to Terry's point, though, like we've always talked about this, all of us, it has to be drastic. Because if not, it's just too easy. It's too convenient.
This is what it would take. It would take for somebody to literally get out here and say, I don't put my music on streaming. I figured out a way to do direct consumer, and you see him with a Rolls Royce and a big house and gold chains and be like, this is what you can get if you do not put your, I see all you poor rappers or whatever.
Yeah.
You are on streaming. You're famous and not rich. Okay. Maybe I'm not as famous as you are, but I'm actually rich and you need to follow this program.
Yeah.
And until somebody figures that out, then it's going to be a thing where people will be like, I just want to be on the fly. I want to be on the front page of Spotify because that means I've made it.
Yeah, it's going to take somebody finding a doc to get them the DeLorean and go back to the 80s and 90s to actually do it the way people was doing it out the trunk.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? That's the only way I see that happening, because I don't think one particular artist is going to be able to figure that out without the help of streaming
services
and social media, essentially.
Yeah, social media is very much tied into this as well, and I mean, to the famous aspect of it. I think that's a part of it, but I also do think I think we as artists, there need to be more people that are just showing that there are alternatives to this.
Right.
Because I don't know anybody that is like, man, streaming is great pays art is great.
You never hear. I don't hear that.
That's not even a conversation.
Facts.
Like Spotify's not even going to tell us that that's good. You know what I mean? So
facts.
It's just more people talking about it and more people it's like there needs to be like a full guideline set up. Like, this is how you do it, and for the longest time, I always looked at streaming as, it's just another cool thing to have. It's like, cool, I have my music on streaming because the people that are going to, and this is an argument that I made in the past for streaming, like, there are people that are just going to listen to your music on streaming. We talked about this with the Black Star album, right?
Yes, yes.
There are some people that are only going to listen to you if you're accessible in that manner. But I think there are ways to be accessible without compromising your, I don't know the right words for this. I think there's ways to do it without kind of bastardizing yourself in the sense of in that manner. So, and I'm not off all streaming platforms, but I got off of Spotify just off of principle. So, but I don't know. I think there's a way to do it. Some people are only going to listen to you if you're on Spotify, and some people are only going to listen to you if you're on Apple. Some people are only on Tidal or YouTube. You know what I mean? So, I think it's finding that balance and being okay with the fact that some people just aren't going to hear your stuff.
I'm with you, bro. I'm with you.
Create your
It's
own
also going to take the market to even out, the house prices to go down, these jobs to pay more money.
That's true.
To the point where whoever's running for president or the state representatives can say, hey, we need to look out for these artists.
Yep.
So we all need to come together and figure out a way how to get them paid without using these streaming services. But we know that's not going to happen.
You know, you just asked for a lot, right?
Exactly. That's not going to happen.
But even further on that, you know, like that goes into people paying for art. You know, if they can pay $20 a month for Spotify, they get access to it. You know what I mean? Like
Spotify's not even that expensive. It's not $20.
I think Spotify $12.
Yeah, but I'm saying, you know, like the $12 a month is
That's what you would have spent on one CD 20 years ago.
Exactly. You know, like people don't have those type of budgets now, you know, in general, because the rent's too damn high.
Yeah. It's like, like I said, you know, we've conditioned people to not pay for art.
Yeah.
Okay. And like I said, like I haven't been to the movies in I don't know how long. I'll just wait for when I pay enough for streaming. Video streaming and these different memberships, whether it be Amazon or Netflix or Hulu, it'll be on one of them. You know, Bad Boys will be on streaming soon enough.
So I
actually just broke some records.
Yeah, but even when you look at the number, for what
it's a lot different than what it was back.
It used to be like, oh man, Will Smith's coming out. It's going to be $100 million weekend, and they
already made $100, haven't they?
Internationally,
okay.
But like it used to be, but now like we see $56 million. Don't get me wrong, it's a lot of money.
Yeah.
But, you know, when you think about a super wide blockbuster release, you know, it used to be like it was $100 million. But if you didn't hit $100 million, your movie was a bomb. Now everything's adjusted, just like, you know, when you see somebody sell the equivalent, because, you know, what are they really selling? Of 30,000 records or 50,000 records. That used to be something that got you dropped from the label and you got no more opportunities in this business.
Absolutely.
We're going to talk about that too.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's going to lead into what we're talking about. Our whole conversation.
Art in general, there's an epidemic right now.
Yeah.
And I don't know if a lot of people really see it, but like art, movies, video games are going to start getting worse. Like we're in a problem in the creative sector right now.
We're not. I don't think they're going to get worse, but we're only going to get 10 video games a year because they're so expensive to make, and nobody's making. You have to sell 5 million.
I think they're going to get worse.
You think it's going to get just the quality is going to get worse?
I think I agree with what Jay said. We're going to get a handful of them, but we're not going to get the large amount.
We're going to get Madden, Call of Duty, FIFA, or whatever they call the soccer game now.
But I don't even consider those. But I don't even consider those great games. They're just fun to play, and they put out a new one. Like they found the new thing. Like it's not like when Elden Ring dropped, or for people who like Baldur's Gate or
The Last of Us.
The Last of Us, stuff like that. We're not going to get like, because we used to get those games just to drop every month, and now it's like my PlayStation Plus, like I look at the new releases on PlayStation when I log in, I'm like, none of these look interesting.
For real?
I'm the same way on Game Pass though, because like I check those. I have Game Pass and I look at them and I'm kind of like, my daughter downloads the games off of Game Pass.
So y'all literally
I'm playing the same games over and over.
Yeah. So y'all literally will see, I guess, what would be new releases. I don't know if that's what they call them.
Yeah.
But you guys really scroll through those and there's nothing that really jumps out?
Look, the games that I play now is 2K24, or like the basketball, just because I enjoy that, even though it doesn't really get much better every year. Mm-hmm. I play Hitman 3, which is like old as hell, but it's just a great game. I play Battlefront 2, Star Wars, which is just a great game. It's 7 years old. You know what I mean?
Wow, that's crazy.
But you know,
people still playing Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah,
That's been out for 10 years.
They're still
10
playing.
plus, actually.
Red Dead Redemption is a really great game.
People still running Grand Theft Auto?
Absolutely. Every day.
Every day.
Yeah.
They're modding them. They're making their own cars.
Big numbers.
Yeah.
People are still looking. People are still jumping on Black Ops 2.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean, there's some games, but like, it's just like we're not seeing the innovation that we used to see with, like, you know, like when what was that space game that was supposed to be really good? I bought it. I remember. I forget what it's called. It was like
Star Fox. I was just throwing something out there.
It was like,
that's my era of video games. I don't know what y'all talking about.
He was like Wing Commander.
Yeah.
No,
it was the complete open world space game where there's
No Man's Sky.
No Man's Sky, right? And that was like, you know, and then it dropped and it was like, it was cool. But then they continued to work on it and it became a really great game. You know what I mean? It's just like, I don't know. It's just, I feel like we're
I mean, well,
lacking a lot.
that's also the thing now. I feel like you see it a little bit with music. I mean, at least with Kanye, he keep updating you know, Life of Pablo. But
Yeah.
like now that's standard with video. Like games were essentially released broken.
Yeah, they have to fix them after that.
And then like when you know, almost no video game is the way it is, you know, Battlefront 2 sucked when it came out.
Yeah, and then it got good.
And then it turned into like an A1 game.
Yeah.
Because they had
Same
to work
thing happened
on
to
it.
what that Cyberpunk game too, right?
Same. Yeah,
Yep.
I played that. So I bought Cyberpunk a year and a half after it came out because I wanted the bugs to be out of it. And when I played it, it was great. Yeah, the last game that I bought that I enjoyed was that cat game called Stray.
Yeah.
It was fun. It was like $20 and it was like you're a cat in like a dystopian world with only robots and you have to like make your way up to the
I don't
The
think
Earth.
I've watched you play that one.
No,
I will remember that.
Well, I
one.
beat it
don't-
in a weekend, but it was
Okay.
cool enough, you know what I mean? Like but that was an indie. That was an indie game, but
Yeah.
you know, anyways, we're kind of
Yeah, we're off.
I just when y'all talk about gaming stuff, I'm just
Deuces,
so
Star
intrigued
Fox.
because I don't know nothing. Like,
I don't even know what that is.
yes, you do. You
No,
know
I
what Star
don't.
Fox is. Yes, you do. Don't do that. You know what Star Fox is.
I don't know what that. Thanks to our partners. Dr. Coleman of Coleman Dental is our go-to dentist. He's a longtime Indianapolis arts and music supporter located right in Broad Ripple. Printfinity is a screen printing shop based in Indianapolis, owned and operated by our own DJ Jay Diff. Our good friends at Indie CD and Vinyl operate one of the best record stores in North America. Shop new and used in their site or visit them in person. And the best way to support the New Old Heads is to visit our Patreon and become a member for as little as $3 a month. All details on newoldheads.com.
Well, Jay, you just alluded to an amount of record sales and what used to be or what would have been listed as successful or not. You alluded to that. And Jermaine Dupri, he had a very interesting take on the state of hip hop as it relates to, it kind of tied it into Sexy Red's album sales. And he kind of talked about what you said about how it used to be versus what it is now. So listen to this clip, Lone. I think it starts at 36 seconds was my mark.
People gotta stop lying. I think that's the beginning of the end. Too much lies. It's too much lying, and I'm not talking about just like people. I'm talking about the industry, right? Because the industry still tries to make you believe that if you a hot artist and you got a single, that selling albums don't matter, right? And I'm only selling albums don't matter. Yeah, I'm only bringing this up because I seen like academics posted today something about Sexy Red album only doing 28,000 copies. In the era that I came in the music industry, if you sold 28,000 copies, you didn't get no other chance to even walk in the building again. You're fired. Like, niggas was not talking to you if you sold 28,000 records, right? And I just feel like, it's such a disconnect between people understanding the streaming situation and then actually what you're looking at, right? Because if we should be only paying attention to the streaming numbers, then I don't
quality of this
understand
is
why the blogs always try to post what people are selling as an
This man's talking about blogs.
album. Because for people that look at music the way I look at it, it feels like a failure. Still
What did they
feels
record
like
this on?
He was having a conversation with Steve Stout, by the way. This is some
Somebody
forum or
probably
something
was
like that.
recording it in
Oh,
the
okay.
crowd.
Yeah, it's not the crispiest audio, but
Yeah, but it's like cutting in and out too.
Yeah, it's weird.
right? Because I come from an era where the numbers were 80,000.
What's he getting at?
the part where he talked about the emphasis on sales, like the illusion of people are popping because they Sexy Red is all over the place, but in all actuality she sold what did he say 28K I believe, and how low those numbers actually are in real life, and the fact that people just think that she's all over the place and a superstar.
She is.
Well, she is,
See,
but it's not translating
I
to.
don't think that's what he's saying.
You don't think he's going that route?
I think what he's saying is like we're reporting these numbers like they actually mean anything.
Oh, okay.
'Cause it's not like anybody went to the store and bought Sexy Red's album. It's all on streaming.
True.
And that's, once again, we talk about a passive way to be a consumer. Like, it doesn't, I don't want to say that when you see somebody's, I don't even know why they call it sound scan anymore because nobody's scanning anything.
Ooh.
What does it actually matter what somebody's streaming? I'm more apt to say, look, what is it when you talk about the popping artists, if you will?
Mm-hmm.
I want to know what their BDS is. And that's how you determine how many times the song is being played on the radio. I want to know what their Polestar numbers are as far as like, okay, what are they getting per show? Because that is really the determination of what an artist is. Like, you can say, oh, Sexy Red flop. She only sold 28.
Entertainer.
Huh?
Entertainer.
You know, she only sold 28,000.
Yeah.
And so that's a reason for people to look down on Sexy Red. And she's not really popping. That's not true, because
Sure
like, and to put it in,
wait, what?
But to put it in the context, Usher did the Super Bowl. His album came out that day, and he only sold 90,000.
That wasn't that day, but it wasn't a good album.
But still, you just did the Super Bowl, the biggest entertainment product on the face of the earth. You had 13 minutes all to yourself, and when your album comes out, you can't even get people. It's only 90,000 people equivalent who are even curious enough to click on the new Usher album. So when you put it in that context, Sexy Red doing 28,000 when Usher did 90,000 after the Super Bowl, album be good or not. You know, that's where you got to look at things and determine whether or not looking at sound. Like I said, what is the point of SoundScan at this point? Because nobody's selling anything.
Well, the illusion, again, and we have to keep bringing this up, is social media. These people are in your face every day. She has singles with Drake. Drake is arguably the biggest hip hop star when it comes to making money, as far as being internationally known and tour money, things of that nature, features. But again, to what Jermaine Dupri is saying, is 28,000 is laughable.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Because her bottom line in all these other areas have to add up too. Just you being in my face does not mean you're getting paid. Essentially, because that's what's going on. People think that just because I see this person all the time, they're making a whole bunch of money, and you can't tell them nothing. Oh, they're getting a bag because I see them all the time. No, they just got somebody that knows how to make this content for them all the time, who they're in turn paying. So they're not getting these bags that you think they're getting. They're getting free clothes and free shoes and gear and stuff to make them look the part. But at the end of the day, they're not really grossing all this money that you think they are. And I believe what he's saying is these artists are being happy with just doing that because somebody is talking about them. He spoke about academics. Posted she sold 28,000. That ain't nothing to be happy about from his time. It's like you don't want nobody to know you only sold 28,000.
Right.
But now, again, social media, he's speaking on it. So then in turn, it looks like this person is doing something.
But you said, once again, it goes back to the whole thing about famous versus being rich. But at the same time, I just feel like at this point, what is the difference? Who cares what you sold first? The only person where I care what they sold first week, or I can even make it make sense based on, all the things I've learned being in radio records, is Taylor Swift, because she actually sells something.
Yeah.
People actually go out and physically buy her records. And she's the only one in the industry. Even Drake, as big as he is, nobody buys Drake records. He doesn't have this presence where you can go to Costco and buy his vinyl in 4 different versions, and his fans are going to buy all 4.
Right.
But they'll pay to go see him.
They'll pay to go see him.
They will go see him
play a song
live
on the radio. So once again, I think when you're looking at the majority of artists who really have nothing to sell, most of these artists do not put out a vinyl piece or maybe a commemorative CD or tape like Killer Mike did. When you see their 50,000, 20,000 equivalent records streamed, that doesn't mean anything. It used to be SoundScan, what you did first week, that meant everything. I don't think it means anything now.
I mean, the line that stuck out to me was just kind of like what Terry said. He says the industry still tries to make you believe that if you're a hot artist and you got a single, that selling albums don't matter. And he talked about academics posting and saying, 28,000.
Because was he doing it to clown her?
Right.
Or was he doing it to say?
I think he's doing it to reference just where we are in the music industry, period.
That part.
Because you can say, it's almost old man yelling at cloud when you say, man, back in my day, $28,000 would have dried up your opportunities. But it's just not how it works now.
I think Terry's point, Terry hit the nail on the head because it's just an assessment. He's talking about the comparison. I don't know if it's necessarily a little bit of it is the old man get off my yard or whatever.
But I think
he's just really giving you a fair assessment of what it is today.
But he also alluded to essentially dropping an album being a quality project. People aren't paying attention to that. All they want is a couple songs that are going to get hot and can lead them to being an opening act for somebody or even go on tour and just play whatever songs they're going to play off their album, but people get hype off of 3 of them.
Right.
You know, so I kind of agree with him. I kind of want to hear more of the conversation to see where he's going.
I get where he's, once again, old man yelling at cloud. Like we're talking about, we need to save the soul of hip hop. Stop that.
Is that a bad thing to say? Is that a bad thing to say?
I think it's when all you pay attention to is what's in the club or on the radio. Then maybe what you see put in your face 10 times a day. Maybe you do think if you think hip hop is encompassed by Sexy Red, which I know she's a lightning rod for a lot of people who talk about the decline of hip hop, and it's fair, but not fair. But when you know better, like I feel like we do, like just the fact that we sat and watched, and we do the reactions to hip hop videos. Mm-hmm. There are so many people out here creating incredible, diverse art.
True.
So when you say we need to save hip hop, no, we don't need to save hip hop. We just need to pay attention to more than what's shoved in our faces all the time.
I agree.
I'm not mad at that.
I mean, that's really I don't.
And they've been having the save hip hop conversation ever since,
like save mainstream hip hop.
That summer.
That's it. That Lone just
that summer 97 when Bad Boy took everything over.
Yeah.
And then everybody's like, oh, hip hop it's always something like that. Whenever something gets popular and it doesn't make the person who fell in love with hip hop 5 or 10 years ago feel comfortable, then it's always like, we got to save the soul of hip hop. It doesn't sound like this, and we need to go back to this.
So instead,
just pay attention to more than what you are force fed on the radio.
So instead of caring so much, because we had this conversation, there are people that'll say, like you're talking about, we got to save the culture, whatever that is. We've even talked about what that means. But what you're saying is, instead of worrying about all of that, focus on, and I'm paraphrasing from what I'm hearing you say, focus on what you find and what you like, and give that more attention.
Yeah.
Stop complaining about how Outkast is not getting back together, and like I wish Public Enemy would do. And Public Enemy puts out music, but you just don't think so because you're too lazy to go check for it. Like, stop having those old man, even though we're the new old heads, stop having those old man conversations about hip hop and what it used to be when you were comfortable and you were young and you were still cool. Like, there's music that's made still for you. Like the fact that we can still get a Lupe Fiasco project and get excited. The fact that, like, I can see that Pete Rock and Common are, they're really setting this up to be something special.
True. Or Chance and Primo or any of these young people.
We just saw an example of Chance and Primo.
So stop. It's like, stop talking about the people you don't like so much.
It's as old as time.
Yeah.
Like it was literally the mantra of bringing down the band. We shared stuff we liked. We didn't talk about stuff we didn't. We just amplify the stuff we like. That's all that you need to do. Yeah. Push the stuff that you like to the front. And we just need more people that do that actually do that. And this is something that we've seen, across the board. And, a lot of these, even back in the blog era, the models shifted throughout time to where, like, it used to be that from all the early hip hop blogs. And then they just started shifting to kind of sharing everything, just anything that was in the realm of hip hop, because they didn't want to exclude certain people. And then it just kind of it fizzled out, and then it's the same thing with streaming or the playlisting and stuff like that. It's like, nope.
There used to be city specific blogs where it's just that music or a certain type of music, like you said, kind of would bring down the band. You could tell somebody was sharing just what they liked, or maybe they wanted to highlight local artists.
That was just sharing everything. They were just sharing whatever was out.
Yeah, no, we weren't sharing local stuff. I'm just saying, like, we were sharing the stuff that was good. Fake Shore Drive is an example of somebody who shared everything.
From a lot of Chicago stuff.
Like, we didn't do that. We just shared.
Maybe I'm getting that part confused, because I know they were very Chicago heavy.
Yeah,
very Chicago.
It's called Fake Shore Drive.
Yeah. So we shared only good hip hop stuff that we liked based upon our tastes. And if you didn't agree with that, that's cool. You can go to these other places and listen to it. True. But I feel like that is something that is missing right now. We don't have a lot of that. We don't have a lot of people that are curating things in that manner, because these, I talked about it a little bit in the past, but it's not set up. These platforms that we exist on are not set up in ways to where we can benefit at all as curators when we are sharing these things. It's like we can do reaction videos. We don't get anything from these reaction videos because we can't monetize them. Right. You know what I mean? There's no benefit built for that, and so people are playing into what works for them. Well, and so people aren't doing it. It's just literally what it is. There's no benefit in doing that unless you have your own website, and nobody goes to websites anymore. You know what I mean? That's why blogging died off. So it's like the way you could get around it before was people could come to your website and you could make money off ads on your website. People don't do that anymore. It's all on platforms. And so if you want to be a curator on a YouTube or on a TikTok or all this other stuff, like there are subtle and trick, ways to do it, but they don't make it easy anymore.
Nah.
Jump in there, Terry.
What fails to happen too are these OGs like Jermaine Dupri or even like a Dre, just to name a few, aren't getting behind artists and creating these albums. So if you're speaking about albums, the people in your camp that you're helping that are already superstars, their albums should reflect that. And he helped Usher on his last album, and the album just really ain't that good to me. I don't know if y'all listened to it.
I didn't run it. I'm not gonna lie.
It's not good.
It has a couple cuts, but
it has a couple cuts, but it's not an album, and that's the problem. Is
compared to Confessions? No, it's not an album.
Well,
but
you can't really compare a whole lot to Confessions, though.
But as the thing is, like, there were records on there that I've been listening to for 2 years. Like as far as like, okay, I understand the rollout with the Super Bowl and everything, but it was just like, yeah. And it was just, I love the record Ruin, the one that they led with a single, but it just didn't work.
Yeah, it's just a few singles here and there, and it's like they're following the same pattern that you're pretty much talking down to a lot of these other artists. You're doing that. You're creating these singles, and you're talking about the album era, but you're not creating full albums that are worthy of somebody that wants to listen and purchase it, essentially.
I can do that.
Yeah, I don't know what else to say to that. So, all
right,
numbers don't matter.
Yeah,
except for they kind of do.
Yeah, they kind of do. 28,000 ain't shit.
But then when you go back and look at anything else that's not Taylor Swift, it's pretty comparable what's going on out here.
Yeah, it's normal. That's what I mean. Like it's like
for today.
Yeah.
Just make sure that your paperwork is right on the other ends of things.
Yeah.
Because it ain't gonna be that album.
So Jay-Z and Rock Nation have a $300 million scholarship fund for the city of Philadelphia. And a lot of people are saying that this is doing more harm than help. So I'm going to read a couple things, and then you guys can, I guess make your own opinions about it. But I thought it was dope when I saw it. I mean, anytime you see $300 million scholarship for schools, usually that's a pretty good thing, right? But there's always intricacies to everything. And it says Ho's Rock Nation Company declared last week that they would be holding events to inform residents about the fund, which is available to students in the city in the form of scholarships to private schools for grades K through 12.
Oh, okay.
So the angle is private schools. I'm going to read a couple comments. It says, just to be clear for those not in Pennsylvania, the legislation Jay-Z is supporting here is a Republican-led effect to gut public education. Effort, thank you. To gut public education, spearheaded by future Trump cabinet member Jeffrey Yass, I believe. Is that how you say it?
Yass.
Thank you, sir. And here's another one that says, whether Jay-Z or the upper middle class family on the block, if you have resources and don't allocate them to local public schools, you are making a moral and political choice. Taking children out of public schools in favor of private is precisely what hurts the most vulnerable. What do y'all think about that?
I've heard this argument before, about charter schools and all these other things.
Private schools, yep.
I'm not and I understand part of the argument on both sides, as a product of, public school, but also I grew up in what some people would consider an affluent situation. This isn't as much of an issue from where I'm from, even though I had friends that went to private school, and I always thought, why would you pay money to go to school? But that's neither here nor there. But I understand when it's almost like, hey, there can be almost a situation where there's a brain drain, not only because some of the, top tier students, they choose not to go to the neighborhood schools, but also like, schools receive funding for having a certain amount of children in school. And so I can see where like it does seem like there are forces on the right who do not believe in public education as it is structured now.
They want to gut it completely.
Yeah. And they see, and part of it is because there's a vendetta against the teachers because the teachers have a union, and unions aren't things that are usually supported by the right, regardless of what, of what they're teaching and where they're teaching. So, they feel this way towards public schools in affluent areas as well. I think Jay-Z's heart is in the right place probably with this, and whoever his partners are, because I figure there have to be some partners involved. Because
for sure.
Why would he do this in Philadelphia as opposed to Brooklyn? Where there's also a need for funding for educational for kids who might want to go to private schools. But of course, it's almost like you can never do the right thing with the wrong people in some people's eyes. And so if you feel like, oh, these are Trump supporters, I get it, because right now we're in this being a political season, everything's going to be politicized. I won't like to think that Jay-Z is a part of gutting public schools. I understand that's why the narrative is going to be. But right now, this is just a very complicated issue, especially depending on who's going to be the Secretary of Education after this upcoming election, because that could be a very crucial thing as far as defunding public schools in underfunded places are already underfunded, because of course our public schools are funded by the tax base of wherever they are.
Right.
And so if you're talking about taking more resources away, and you can get Jay-Z to be the face of taking resources away from underfunded schools, it's not a good look. It's not a good look, even if he and his partners have the right intention behind them trying to help kids who may not have an opportunity to go to private schools to get tuition to go to these particular schools. What you think, Lo?
I think that it's an interesting thing because we have. I really wish Mark was here, Mr.
Oh
Panetta.
yeah.
It would be, because I very much value his opinion on this. But I feel like we're in an area where we see a lot of public school teachers walking away due to support, due to many things that are
banning of books.
Yeah. It's just not being able to teach in the right ways, and not being able to have control over their classrooms, and a whole bunch of things. Generally speaking, when I look at $300 million to private schools, I think, well, why wouldn't you put that money towards public school infrastructure as opposed to private school infrastructure, because it's still going to end up leaving a lot of people out. So if you now granted, this isn't Jay-Z's responsibility, right? You know what I mean? But to me, it's like, there are certain things in our country that I think that inherently should just be rights. And one of them is education, one of them is healthcare, stuff like that. But when you don't have the right type of resources to make public school what it needs to be, I think that's a problem. And right now, the Conservative Party in general has a lot of issues with public schools. And so they just want to gut it, and so I don't know. I'm kind of talking around because I don't really know how to address this, because I don't feel like I'm an expert in this manner. But what I will say is that, like, I don't think that this is a solution to a problem that is with public schools. Like, I don't think the solution is to put a bunch of money into private schools to pull students out of what would typically be I think the solution is to make public schools better. So I don't, but again, I'm not the expert, so.
No. I can dig that. You got any thoughts, Terry, on this?
Just a few. I mean, I don't have a whole lot to say because, again, like he said, I'm not really hip to a lot of what's going on as far as public school sector and the private is. But to me, just surface level, it sounds like the rich helping the rich.
That's what it sounds like.
I mean, charter schools or private schools, you don't necessarily have to be rich to go there, but you're paying tuition to go to elementary or junior high and high school. The tuition isn't cheap either. I don't know if y'all have seen
it's
how
like
much
college tuition.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like some of the schools here, like Cathedral and what's another one? Private school. Chittard. Ritter, I believe. Brebeuf. I think, Brebeuf. These are not cheap schools, and the people that go there, or the kids that go there, their parents are essentially investing in their education to further them later once they get to college and things of that nature. So if these parents are able to provide this education to these kids, I don't think an additional funding needs to be made, because a lot of these schools look very well. Their sports programs are very good as well, because they can afford to pull this kid from inner city school and just say, we're going to pay your tuition so that we win these games and in turn get more money at our school.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So to me, it's just it's an issue. It just doesn't seem right, surface level to me, to be giving $300 million to private schools when you have inner city schools that their gym is leaking. I drive by Crispus Attucks every day. And it looks like it probably looked like that when my dad went there. Like the bleachers on the football field, they're all crumbling. And NBA decided to give them a statue of Oscar Robertson out in front of it. But they really need a new facility. They need that to be updated. At the end of the day, I mean, the statue, that's a good look too. But at the end of the day, what matters is kids feel a certain sense of pride by going to school somewhere that looks presentable. You know what I'm saying?
Good point.
If I'm walking into this building and it looks a certain way, I feel a certain type of way, it's going to keep me or at least help guide me and structure my mind to want better for myself, versus I'm going to school and essentially a hole, and nobody's funding us, but we see all these other private schools who already got money getting these funds. So to me, it's a cool gesture, but it's also a slap in the face at the same time to me.
I'm trying to read more on this people.com article here, and it says, stop me if you already mentioned this, but it said students' eligibility for the new campaign, which falls under Senate Bill 757, also known as the Pennsylvania Award for Student Success, PASS, will depend on household income not exceeding 250% of the federal poverty level, which currently sits at $75,000. For a family of four. Varying scholarship amounts will be awarded for those who qualify, like $2,500 for half-day kindergarten students, $5,000 for grades K through 8, $10,000 for grades 9 through 12, and $15,000 for students with special needs.
That wasn't in here on the one that I pulled.
Let me make sure I'm reading the right article here. Yeah, June 7th. All right, so yeah, this is interesting, man. I don't know, man, because private school is funded. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Private school is funded from private investors anyways, right?
No, by you paying tuition.
Yeah, the parents essentially.
Yeah.
But it's also private investors as well, right?
It's almost like there are people who are boosters and private supporters, yes, and
alumni
that pretty much benefited from going to that school and are giving back to the school.
They have just like a lot of Ivy League schools, and not just Ivy League, who have an endowment.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's so. I mean, in that aspect, I can kind of see. It's just like, it just seems like Jay-Z is another one of these people that's just putting money.
I mean, his kids are,
into it.
If they're going to school at all and not being homeschooled by a nanny or something, I'm sure they're going to private school.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Yeah.
So there's another piece on here. It says, in addition to distributing scholarship funds, Rock Nation is slated to host a series of events in the greater Philadelphia region. And also, Rock Nation's new launch in Philadelphia is the latest educational effort from the company's past commitments. In 2020, Jay-Z's company teamed up with Long Island University to start Rock Nation School of Music, Sports, and Entertainment. I think we may have even talked about that
a while back, I believe so.
Very briefly. Yeah. So, I don't know, man. I think for me specifically, when I look at this, I just think I would just appreciate an investment into
public schools,
man, because that's where the majority of people go, and that's the majority of. That's where the issues lie. Like let the private people figure it out.
But is that even something that you could create a fund to do and say, okay, we're going to...
I don't think so.
Yeah, exactly, because that's what the state and local and federal government is supposed to cover.
Yeah, which is the problem. Yeah,
that's exactly.
And so, so there, and then it gets down to...
So once again, it's private interest controlling educational interest, which I see where people have an issue with that.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, same way that there's a loophole for people in public schools getting in trouble and them leading them down the wrong path and setting them up for failure. This is essentially setting the people up that are already set up to win even more.
Yeah.
That's definitely
very well said.
It's a version of nepotism.
Yeah.
Or just
not even nepotism.
Not nepotism.
Not even nepotism, but But
just to, like
privilege at the end of the day.
yeah,
it's
just to
privilege.
once again they say, okay, these are the kids we know. Like, you know, we'll snatch the good athletes and, you know, the good students from the neighborhood schools.
Yeah, that's how they'll spin it to make it look good.
Right.
Is because we're actually including kids from the inner city that are able to go to these schools and benefit from this program. But at the end of the day, you're leaving 90% of them in the same position they were in when it started.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No child left behind, man.
Hey,
That's real.
That No Child Left Behind got somebody in trouble this past week. I don't know if y'all seen the kid that got demoted from 12th grade down to 9th grade.
What?
Because he was so terrible at school, and his mom was.
He thought he was about to
blaming
graduate?
Well, I don't know. Well, they didn't interview him.
Oh,
but
was
his
this thing in
mom was
Baltimore?
talking. I don't know
Like
what's.
the kid he just wasn't going to school.
It was something like that. He missed like an abnormal amount of days to even consider wanting to graduate. But his mother was blaming the teachers and things of that nature. This falls on you.
Yeah.
At the end, you know, if your kid ain't doing good in school, you cannot put the blame on teachers.
It all starts
if you're
at
not
home.
checking his grades and his attendance.
And now they do everything online, which is
Man,
crazy.
it's
Like
crazy.
now, it used to be you could do something, be like, no, I don't know what they talking about, ma. And now everything, no, they can check what you did
Check-
online.
Man, this dude missed like 200 days of school.
Oh my
see,
God!
you
You
might-
can't blame that on the teacher, man.
Look,
She ought to be ashamed for even getting on the news saying
Yeah,
anything.
exactly.
as an educator myself, like I can only teach people that show up.
True.
I can only and even sometimes when people show up, they're not really there, and it's just there's only so much you can do, and it starts at home.
That's another reason why these public schools need funding is because some of these kids show up to school and they aren't there. A lot of it is because they're hungry. How can they focus?
Yeah,
So
Yeah, and then you see things to
we
where
need truant officers.
like the ones
and
in
more
juice.
metal detectors.
No, but I mean, it
I
was
see what you did there.
I saw something, of course, where there was some governor. It could have been any state at this point because people are crazy.
Probably Florida.
Yeah, probably. Where they were going to receive federal money to, make sure kids who get subsidized lunches, they're able to also have somewhere to get at least breakfast during the summertime. Not even something that's going to come from the state budget.
Conservatives are like, no.
And they're like, nope.
They denied that bill.
Yeah.
I read about that yesterday, I think.
And it's like, what is the political gain from you saying
Nothing.
No, we're not going to feed these kids with money that we get from the government. We didn't have to raise this money. It's not going to take away from potholes or anything else.
That's
here.
crazy.
I mean,
That is crazy.
that's also the thing what they've done in Mississippi for years, but we know what that's about. To where like most southern states, if you didn't already know, without the federal government, they would just be. It'd be third world countries more than they are now. And, they don't give, food and SNAP benefits to their citizens. Well, partially because if they gave it to they don't even give it to the white people, because if they gave it to the white people, then they have to give it to everybody. So now they just they make the poverty threshold so low that it was like, hey, you made $7,000 this year. You got enough money to eat.
That's crazy. Now, I do want to give a shout out to my school, Warren Central. Actually, during the COVID, they sent a lot of kids meal cards because you weren't coming to school. So they sent cards to the families so that they could go get groceries.
That's
Really?
I thought that was pretty solid.
That's dope right there. That's dope.
It's just so many conservatives in general don't kind of understand how a lot of these issues intersect with each other. And, education isn't just about like how fast you can read.
Exactly.
It's like there's so many things that go into.
There's a lot of people that
aspect.
got all the way through school and never learned how to read.
Yeah.
And how they did it, that's intelligent in itself to even be able to fake it that
Yeah.
that much.
I mean,
but
some
still.
people, if you're an athlete, I don't know if you ever remember this player. He went named Dexter Manley, played for the Washington. He couldn't read when he was on the Washington Redskins. That means he went through college and couldn't read.
Yeah.
That's wild because they could care less about him reading.
No, he's incredible. He's NFL's caliber talent. You being able to read, as long as you can read that, kind of figger out what the X's and O's on that playbook
Read
mean.
that playbook. That's all
Somebody
you
else
need.
can read for you.
Yep.
Yeah. I think, has anybody, not to go too sidebar on this, but have you guys been witness to this Project 2025 thing?
I looked at it briefly and it is crazy.
It's pretty wild.
Yeah.
What is it called? Project 2025?
Yeah, it's the conservative handbook for what they want to do as soon as a Republican is elected president. It's
wild.
It's wild.
Oh yeah,
like it's like far left field.
Yeah,
before right field.
Right field.
Right field. That's what.
Oh yeah, is that bad?
Yeah, it's bad, dude.
Nah,
it's
y'all
bad.
got me want to go look
and
it up
they
now.
don't deny it. Like if you question them about these things, they're like, yeah, that's what it says.
Yeah. So, but
really,
Yes.
but it's along the same lines of the stuff that we're talking about here. It's just like it's just hyper individualism, realistically, in a lot of ways, but not caring about anybody except for yourself. That's what.
that's
it is.
tough. Project 20.
They don't care. They don't care about the kids.
Yeah, it's like,
Not at all.
They don't care. They don't care about the
yeah,
kids.
it's like really.
Unless it's their kids,
That's different.
Yeah.
you know, and then they want to be able to put their kids.
Well, I mean,
Alright.
it's always different rules. Just like,
Yeah.
Hunter Biden got convicted today, and
Oh, did he?
Yeah, and no one was talking about the system being broken.
Like, it's like I'm sure you see a whole bunch of liberals out there. Like, okay,
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
who cares?
Yes, I saw AOC.
Was he
was
guilty?
like, yeah,
Cool.
that's what happens. I mean, like he wasn't doing stuff he wasn't supposed to do, and he got caught.
Well, I mean, maybe
And so-
that'll shut up their talking point about that.
No,
at
it
least.
won't.
No, they
It's
still
like-
bringing it up. They're bringing it up today.
It's just like, oh my gosh.
It's when it's system's only broken when we lose.
All right, man, that'll do it for this episode. NewOldHeads.com for all the education you need this year. As always, like, subscribe, share, turn on notifications, check out our Patreon, and remember to give us 5 stars on any review. If not, you hating at this point and you're not rocking
Do the
with
right
us.
thing.
Do the right thing. We appreciate the support as always, and we'll see y'all next week.
Yes,
Peace.
sir.
In a minute.
Goodbye.